Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Lawler, and I'm your host for Bridging the Gap. And this is the January 11th, 2024 edition of Bridging the Gap. Welcome to our show tonight, and we are honored to have a great team of folks who are here tonight to share great news about the information and services available to our veterans community in Will County. So we've got a team from the Will County Veterans Assistance Commission that we think, and I think is very important, that they know, our community knows all about the services that they provide, and we're going to share those stories today. So thank you for being here, and if you would, just introduce yourselves and your role with the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Mike, first of all, for having us. I do want to, before I introduce myself, give a shout out to Larry Shaver. He's also on the commission. And I think you guys know each other, so thank you to Larry in setting this up. My name is Raj Pillai. I'm the commission president. I'm essentially the head of the board that oversees the operational function of the commission. So that's my role.
Great. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Mike. My name is Aria Scott. I am a Veterans Service Officer at the VAC. Just started last August.
Great.
Hi, Mike. I'm Amy Georgakopoulos, and I am the Senior Veteran Service Officer.
Well, thank you all for being here. And I do want to acknowledge Larry. We got a really cool thing. We did a show a couple of months back with Canines for Vets, but we have a special visitor that's off camera tonight. Charlie is off camera. Kane Corso, and she is about to go through training, I believe.
Correct.
And Larry, just to give him some credit, long time active service to the veterans in the community. He's a veteran himself, and he's well known throughout the community. If anybody doesn't know him, we'll get you introduced. But he has responsibility for making sure Charlie's happy. So he assured me he's got a pocket of treats.
Charlie's
tonight.
Excited today.
Oh, yeah.
So Larry's
Yes.
got a lot of work.
Yes, and so we may see Charlie. We'll see what happens. But not a knock against Larry, but Charlie is very friendly. So as we learned just before we came on the air.
Right on.
So tonight, I want to talk about this, and Larry and I had a conversation a little while back, and after Veterans Day, and he's been on this show before, and everything that we can do to help veterans is very important to us. And so anything, he explained the services that you're providing. He said you're trying to reach out to people. You're going to share this story, but I'll just give you a quick setup. Trying to share, make sure people in Bolingbrook and in Will County are aware of your organization so that you can contact the veterans and make sure that they're getting the services that they absolutely deserve. So that's how Larry and I got to get to today, and I want to thank him for coordinating and communicating with all of you to be here. Will County Veterans Assistance Commission, Raj, if you wouldn't mind, and jump in wherever anybody wants to talk about it. Give us a bit of a history on the commission and how it got started and what's going on today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually going to throw this over to Amy to have her start, because she is a daily part of the organization where I'm just on the commission, on the board. So.
I know that type of life, so I rely on people who
absolutely. So
great
people. And I'll
who are
step
doing
in
great
and
things.
Sure.
add a few thoughts after.
So the Will County Veterans Assistance Commission has been an entity within Will County for over 30 years now. We're governed by the Illinois statute, the Military Veterans Assistance Act, and we're comprised of a commission. Our commission that oversees us, that Raj is the president of, is composed of delegates and alternates from the various posts within the community, within the county.
Okay.
So they oversee us, and then even though we are funded by the county, we are actually governed by our commission board.
Great. All right. So Larry's on the commission. I think I know there's another resident that I've come to know who's also involved. I talked to him on Veterans Day. So 30 years, and let's go into a little bit about the services, high level first, and then we'll dive deeper as conversation goes on. But state statute, a commission in every county, and a board is involved to provide oversight and make sure things are happening. So what happens with the commission?
So basically, our role with the VAC is to advocate for veterans. So we are essentially a one-stop shop for the veteran that's separating from the military. We do things from filing claims to the Department of Veterans Affairs for them, to transporting them to medical appointments. We have a transportation program. We have a financial assistance program. We have outreach. We have a food pantry. We try to engage with the community as much as we can to also get the word out, to let them know what our purpose is. Because a lot of the times what we see is people will come in to see us with their families, the veteran, the spouse, and they don't know that we exist. And they'll sit there. Half the time I deal with the senior demographic, and they'll sit across my desk and say, my gosh, Amy, we didn't know that this existed. Well, that's why we're there. Our role is to advocate for you, to navigate the VA for you, and make sure that you understand everything as far as benefits that you could be eligible for. We are accredited through the federal government, so we need to keep that accreditation up on a yearly basis with continuing education to make sure that if the laws are changing, we're aware of that. We want to make sure that we're doing things right for the veteran the first time. I tell everyone that comes to me to sit, and you don't have to work with a veteran service officer or a veteran service organization. If you want to file any claims to the Department of Veterans Affairs, you can do it on your own. But without being disrespectful, you will mess it up because there's a way that they like it to be compiled, and it's our job to know how to keep you compliant with the regulations.
Okay. Thank you for the overview. And pardon my voice. I talked to our guests tonight and assured them I got tested earlier this week, and all kinds of fun stuff is going around, so I don't have the best of voice tonight. But let's go into, and I always like to start out with this, how did each of you get involved with the organization? And how did you find out about it? Because that's one of the challenges. I mean, our VFW and American Legion posts have trouble identifying and attracting veterans to their organizations. I'm fully aware of that with our local organizations. How did each of you get involved, become aware and get involved?
Yeah, no, I can start on how I got involved. And just to add to what Amy was saying earlier, and what we were talking about before we started was we're a government organization.
Yep.
And you're a trustee, Mike. You know how a government organization is run with the Open Meetings Act and everything else. But at one point, people decided that there needs to be some oversight, but the government body that governs the VAC needs to be veterans. And that's how I started. Is our veteran network that comprises our governing body is made up of VFWs and Legions across the county. So we have 18 VFWs and Legions in the network. How I started was I became a part of the Plainfield American Legion. At that time, I just wanted to volunteer. I'm an accountant, a CPA, in my other life outside of here. So I thought, why not help? I was a finance officer for the Plainfield Legion. So I found out about the VAC at that time. And, at that time, the VAC was going through some operational challenges. And I thought, hey, here's something where I can get involved, maybe help. And that's kind of how I started. And I joined the commission that way.
Well, thank you for your service with Plainfield American Legion and obviously with the commission. So thank you for sharing that.
I got started with the VAC through actually my sergeant. We were in the same unit, and I was unhappy with my current position. So he was like, "Hey, we're hiring. You might as well see if you can get in where we are." So I put in a resume, and here I am today.
So give us a little more background. How did you? So you're a veteran.
I am actually currently in the Army Reserves.
Well, so you're currently serving. That's
Yes.
awesome.
That's right.
That's awesome.
I was going to make sure you said that.
Thank you so much. And reserves, we a very important part of our community, our state, our country. And we've had one of our former trustees was very active in the reserves until his retirement, Mark Stanich. And so I'm well aware of the I'll call it the commitment that's required. So thank you for all that you do there. So you said, oh, I don't like what I'm doing today, and so you got the good hook of, all right, so let's go find something for you to do, and that's how you got involved with the commission.
Yes.
Great.
So I actually have a background in healthcare.
Okay.
I did everything from bedside nursing to the back end of inpatient hospital. I worked on the surgery team for pre-access and got tired of it and burnt out. My back is tired, and I got tired of the hours and the holidays and the long shifts. So I actually fell into this completely on accident, and I've been doing it for it'll be 7 years this year.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, healthcare providers certainly, and you know, I see a common thread here. You're in helping other people, and there are demands, and so you get a fresh look at how to help people, and this is how you got involved. So that's
Right.
great. So the other thing I'd like to ask, and we talked about this ahead of time, is there are people who are watching tonight who think that they don't have the skills, they don't have the experience, they don't know how to get involved. Oh, it's too demanding or whatever. But someone in all of our lives has inspired us. I would credit my parents with giving me the understanding of how to help other people or serve other people, and giving me the example of that. So would you mind sharing, you're all serving others, anybody in particular, any experience that you had that prompted you toward, I'll call it a life of service?
I'll start. This is a tough one, and like you said, your parents were your inspiration. It was the same thing with me. I'm an immigrant. I came from another country, and my father. I'm 45 today. I don't know if I should let your viewers know how old I am, but my father came here into America at my age, which my legs are creaking. I don't know how he did it, but that was the inspiration for me to, do unto others, especially when I saw veterans when I came into Plainfield, the Legion. A lot of veterans were underserved, and I thought, that what better way to serve veterans than this? So that's
Good.
That's why I joined.
Well, thank you for sharing, and your parents are an inspiration, obviously. Making that effort to migrate, leave their home, leave their family and friends, come here, and it's an amazing journey. So, and obviously they did well. You're here and you're helping people, so they inspired you. So thank you for sharing that.
I would say that I've always been drawn to customer service roles, helping people in one capacity or another. This kind of just suits me just the same. I enjoy, seeing a smile on someone's face, even just kind of just changing their day just a little bit, just to make sure that they're better, feeling better with the more they came, more better than they came in our office, and that to me is just so rewarding. Even if it's something minor, something that can just be clarified, and I'm in a learning phase as well. There's so much to learn with this position, and I enjoy it. Every time I have a question, I go to Amy or whoever else is in our office, and I just look forward to going to work every day.
Now, you may have mentioned it, pardon me, how long have you been involved with the commission, Veterans Assistance Commission?
I started last year, so I'm the newbie.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a learning curve, but I enjoy it.
That's good, and and I tell this to my kids: find your passion in life, and find a way to get paid for it, and things will work out. But the number one thing is to be happy with what you're doing each and every day, and then hopefully you get compensated well enough to make a living. But
So, like I mentioned, I have a background in healthcare, and I honestly didn't anticipate making a career change almost 7 years ago, but there it was. And it's funny because when I had actually applied for the job, I was like, well, gosh, I don't know anything about veterans. I'm not a veteran, and I'm not a veteran. I'm the only civilian officer that's in our office. But I remember as a kid, my grandfathers are both World War II veterans. I have uncles that are Vietnam veterans, Korean War veterans. And I remember going to the VFW to drink a Coke and watch him play cards with his friends. So as a kid, we would go to the bingo hall, things like that. And when the opportunity presented itself to me, I thought, oh, this is kind of cool because I've always taken care of people in one capacity or another, and I can still do that. So. And it also helps with my healthcare background in this role.
Yeah, that is an interesting combination, or I'll call it a package of experience.
Correct.
Because you can see things, you're aware of how the health industry works, medical industry, and some of the ins and outs and navigation there, which all of us need help with, right? I had some experience earlier this week with healthcare facilities and with family members, and I'm fortunate to have people around who I can recognize and know people who can help navigate that. So it is an interesting challenge. So I mentioned Larry and I had a conversation about this. He brought up an interesting statistic, and I don't know, and then this is why he wanted to have you come and share the information with the community. But how many veterans have you identified in Will County, and how many are aware of the commission? I think I have that somewhere in my head, but maybe you might have it.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to
I know
take
there's
that one, Amy.
I know there's
Probably more aware.
there's over 28,000 veterans in Will County. I honestly am not quite sure of the statistic of how many we have served, especially since the beginning. But I know that there's still work to be done. So outreach is a huge task of ours. We've tasked ourselves with the challenge of getting out into the community as much as we can, so they are aware that we are there.
Yeah, I think he shared with me, and I'm not, it's you're dealing with
that's
the day-to-day.
okay. That's a great
but
question.
It was astounding to me that you've been able to reach, and this is the reason for having you come on the show, less than 50%. And I mentioned a little while ago, the VFW Post American Legion are having the same challenge. How do they connect with the veteran community as they come out of the service and they want to make sure they stay in touch and get the services that they deserve? So that percentage was astounding to me, and that's one reason why I wanted to make sure you got here today and we can share the message.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, if I can add to that, and we'll probably talk about this later, but you're right. I think that it's almost 30,000 veterans, and it's hard to look at the exact statistic, but we probably reached close to 50%. But veterans go in and out of the county as well. But in order to reach the other half, the reason it's very challenging is we're in Joliet, which is pretty far away from Peatone, which is also Will County. So we do have service officers that will go out there, do outreach events. However, we're not as effective in Peatone as we could be maybe in Joliet. So one of the initiatives that we have is events like this, and that's why we're so happy we're here, is make the community aware that there's free services for veterans that exist that are paid for by their own tax dollars.
And I want to elaborate on that a little bit and how you contact, because I mentioned the challenge that each local post has. And I can see you're serving now. How does a veteran become aware as they're exiting the service of services that are provided to them, and how do they find you? And as you mentioned, they're moving in and out of the county. So that's the number one challenge, is how do we know who they are, and then how do we get in contact with them through I think the local events and outreach are a very good way to do it. And I'm sure you've got a lot, but how do you identify veterans? You talked about community events. Is there any other method by which you might be notified that there are veterans living in Will County that you haven't been able to get in contact with yet?
So for example, I'm the point of contact for some of the local hospitals, their social workers. I've done seminar, like kind of like a brief informational session with them online. COVID taught us how to do everything online.
Yes.
I've done it for Northwestern Health System. I did it for Silver Cross, I believe, St. Joe's, which are obviously Joliet hospitals, but Northwestern is throughout the Chicagoland area.
They are.
And as well as the Hines VA Hospital Medical Center social workers. So they'll reach out, especially if they have a veteran that's inpatient or a surviving spouse of a veteran that's inpatient, and if they need resources, they'll reach out to us, ask if there's anything we can do for them. I'm also networked with several home care agencies, and they'll contact me as well. Hey, I've got, so-and-so, do you think they might be eligible? Sure, send them my way. We'll evaluate.
That's a great point. There are so many. It's important to have the network, and there's so many ways that you can come in contact. So we talk about community organizations. I was talking with another organization that supports those with special needs, and they try to collaborate. They're constantly looking for other organizations in the area that they can connect with and share information about resources. So I would put that in the same category of there's so many different places that you can identify, and you've spoken of several of the hospitals, maybe assisted living, maybe home care, and because the individuals are not reaching, they're not coming to you.
Correct. We've actually gone to assisted living facilities. We've gone to senior fairs and set up a table just for informational purposes. We'll go give a brief overview of VA benefits to residents that want us to come out. I've spoken to Caroline. I've spoken to Grand Haven and Romeoville. We've gotten, we're getting around. And actually, I was approached today by one of our other commission members to see if I would come down to Shanahan to do a little session. And that's what it's all about is, if someone knows someone that knows someone, they kind of pass your information along and say, hey, go see these guys. And, we're proud of that because of the job that we do.
Yeah, it is important. One of the things, and there are a number of services offered in local government, and notifying people of those services is, in my time as serving Bolingbrook, we're never 100% on it.
Right.
We always find someone who's not aware. Just a quick side story. I had a neighbor. We have a festival every year. A neighbor across the street from me, and this is probably 15 years ago. They asked me where I was going one day, and I said, well, I'm going to the festival. And the village would send out a mailer to every house every year, a newsletter explaining the festival and what was going on. I said, we've been together since '89 in this neighborhood, and you're not aware. You get this mailer every year.
Right.
So it's an ongoing challenge of how to get connected with people. And then there are veterans who don't want to be found, right?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Part of the reason we're not able to serve a lot of veterans, and I was in the Navy myself, and I know a lot of veterans in my own Legion in Plainfield. And I recently also became part of the VFW in New Lenox. And if you talk to a lot of the folks there, if there's something going on health-wise, a lot of them don't want to speak up. There's a huge stigma out there with veterans. They feel like they have to sort of keep it in sometimes, and a lot of times they just want other people to get the services and not themselves. So that becomes an issue, and sometimes it even leads to mental conditions that
Yes.
then we have resources for that too, but we don't want it to get to that point, but we have to find them, and that's our challenge.
And I mentioned we had the K9 for Vets team on here a couple of months back, and that was their number one thing. The veterans did not want to acknowledge that they needed help. And whether that be mental services, mental health services, or just medical services, I'm tough. I was trained to be tough.
Right.
And I can't speak about any issues that I'm having because we're just going to plow through and make things happen.
Right.
So the number one message that came out of that show was be willing to step up and ask for help. And
Right. Yeah, in the
just go
veteran
somewhere.
community, in my opinion, that's one of the bigger tragedies that we have is people don't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here. So let's go through a little bit on, I'll call it the day in the life. You talked about community events. What's a typical day, and there's no typical day. So why don't you share your experience, you get up in the morning, get your coffee or tea, and you head off to the office or wherever you're going to be hanging out that day. But what's a typical day for you serving our veterans?
We usually take about 2 to 3 appointments a day, and they can vary from pension to just burial benefits, depending on what that veteran needs for that particular day. We serve as veterans that may need a shower or may need food from the food pantry. It was never just one thing. It's multiple things, most likely. And so sometimes it's just asking questions and kind of having a conversation like we're having now.
Right.
And then we kind of figure out what their needs may be for that particular day.
Yeah, getting them you have to tease it out of them. You have to pull it out of them sometimes.
Charlie's a big part of that.
Yes.
Getting it out
Oh,
of them.
yeah.
Yes. And we may ping Larry to bring Charlie in towards the end of the show. But that brings a good point. We didn't cover, so where are you located? And what can people expect? And then we're going to talk about how they find you. But describe the services that are provided, and start out with kind of where they can find you, and then what services. You talked about a food pantry, coming into a facility somewhere. So let's talk about that for a minute.
So we're located at 2400 Glenwood on the first floor in Suite 110.
Okay?
I tell everyone, if you know where St. Joe's Hospital is, we're 2 blocks west of them.
Okay?
That's where our day-to-day operations take place. That is where we have our on-site shower. We have the food pantry. You have to realize we've been at war, our country, for over 30 years now, and there's an increasing demand for mental health services. So a lot of times, especially when we have new hires like Aria here, we'll tell them, you have to realize people are coming in because they're not because they want to be here. Not everyone
Right.
is having their best day when they come in. A lot of times we have veterans in crisis. We have families that are in crisis, and our job is to assess what's going on with them and try and connect them to whatever services we can. And we're pretty educated in the fact that if we don't have the answer, then we usually know someone who does.
Good.
So we have, like I said, that network is huge. But basically, the way we recommend, if you want to come in and see us, get connected to services, schedule an appointment, contact the office, come on in, and we'll sit there and go through your experiences and what you're going through now and see what benefits you might be eligible for.
So we're going to add onto the screen the phone number and the website. So why don't we go with the phone number first?
The phone number is 815-740-8389.
Okay. And I did see the website, but let's give the...
Is it Will County? I can't remember. I always mess
No,
it up.
no, it's fine. It's veteransassistancewillco.org.
That's what
Yep.
it is.
I remember looking at that and saying, okay, and I like that sequence, Veterans Assistance first, Will County.org, and it is an organization, not a business.
Correct.
Yeah, and I should probably give out the email too. Is that vacwc@willcountyillinois.com is
Okay.
the email
Right.
address.
Yeah, we'll have that up on the screen during the show.
And the most important thing we want people to know is that there is no charge for our services.
Yeah.
One of the biggest pet peeves that I have is there's organizations out there that will take your money to do exactly what we're doing for no charge. Just don't do it.
Oh man, yeah, you got me started on a
Yeah.
thought process here.
Don't do it.
Why don't you share your opinion of that?
It's pretty, and I'm glad, Amy, you brought that up because, I'm a commission member. I'm not one of the staff, so I don't do a lot of what they do every day. My
Right.
job is oversight. I run the meetings with about 20 plus commission members on a quarterly basis now, and we might have special meetings if we need to. But because I search for so much stuff on my computer, what happens is I get what we call claim sharks. And you might see them too as, they're sponsored ads on Facebook, or they might even come up on Google. But these are private companies that are basically sharks. They offer veterans services, but a lot of times, and Amy, you might know this better, but they take a percentage of the veterans' benefit from them after they get that benefit, or even before they get that benefit. And that's why we call them sharks. And there's been legislation that has happened at the federal level. And even, I don't know if there is some at the state level, but that is out there that's being supported by the VFW and the Legion to just combat this type of behavior. But it is not going away. It's still out there.
Well, and the good thing is there is more communication about that. So let's talk about this one more time, and you don't have to give out the companies, but you want to be sure you're connected to your organization as a veteran or a family member. You want to be sure that they're communicating with you. So
what we recommend is that they work with an accredited veteran service officer.
Yep.
A lot of times people will, the internet is our friend nowadays, so they'll go online and
Or
Google.
enemy.
Exactly. And like Raj had mentioned, I've seen it where there are claim sharks that will want a percentage of the award for a certain amount of time. I've seen huge fees to compile the paperwork, anywhere from a couple $100s to a few $1,000s. It's insane. And when I see, especially a lot of my elderly veterans coming in and they're on a fixed income and they're like, well, I paid, so and so. Why did you do that? Because they promised they would get it done faster. And it just makes us crazy because it's super frustrating. We don't want to see, these are people that are struggling as it is, and then we have people out there that are trying to take from them even more. So we try and stress that, please work with a veteran service organization that has accredited veteran service officers, because that's what we do, and we don't charge for that. And we also actually even network with other VACs within the state. If there's a resident, say in DuPage County, they might contact me and say, hey, I'm sending someone your way, or Grundy or Kane. I've had people from Rockford come all the way down to see me. I've worked with residents out of state that, they have a home here and they're snowbirds in Florida, so they'll contact us and we'll work remotely, whatever we can do. But ultimately to keep as much of their own, hard-earned money in their pocket is the goal.
So there has been some legislation in other parts of our society where they, scam callers and trying to keep the phone companies from blocking spam and things like that. There's messages all over about that, and even on mail that you get from the government that, scam alert, utility companies and things like that. So I think the word's getting better, but out of what I'm hearing right now is there's no fee, no fee to work with the Veterans Assistance Commission anywhere in the country, and you can help them identify where they can get services. And I'm going to presume here, I'm going to make a statement because you talked about it earlier. You identify partners that you can work with as you come into a new situation. Somebody comes up with something new that they're dealing with. You can identify, or if you don't know the answer right away, you work to identify a place for them to get services. So the best source is to come to you. And if you don't know the answer, you're going to find it.
Correct.
And you're going to help them around the country or wherever they are. So if no one knows anything else from today's discussion, it's free, services are free, and work with the Veterans Assistance Commissions in every county, in every state in the country. And that's the only organization to work with for these types of services. Is that a pretty strong message, but could be others, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good message to get out there, especially, like I said, our ultimate goal is to protect the community from situations, like I said, the claim sharks, or just getting misinformed. We want to make sure that, even, like I said, you can go ahead and go on the internet and try and fill this out and submit it, but the VA wants paperwork a certain way. We try to send all of the information we can to them at one time, so ultimately they can receive a favorable decision. If you don't understand how that process works on the back end, it just delays things. And to be honest, not a lot of people have time. So,
Well, the time to do it and the knowledge, you're right. I experienced that personally myself in the
Right.
past few days where I was trying to get something processed, a request processed, and I didn't choose well because I wasn't aware. So great information, and I'm pretty good about, I used to write instructions on how to do things. And I was in technology, I'm in the technology industry day job, so I would write user manuals and all this stuff, but that doesn't always work, right?
correct.
So come to you and help them, veterans and family members, navigate the system. And you don't have to tell me how many. We talked about the number of commissioners, and I think that's a very good thing to know. But how many staff members do you have in the office in Joliet?
We have, let's see,
And if you're,
I think, is there 10 of us? Let me think.
There'd be almost 10,
Yeah.
I would think.
Nine, yeah.
yeah, and that's not important because they're going to come in, they're going to call you up, they're going to email you, they're going to get a hold of you and make an appointment to come in. I think in person and over the phone is helpful too. I used to work and manage a help desk, and I got pretty good at talking people through how to navigate technology, which
You
that's
are
a whole
brave.
different.
Right. We
That's-
actually encourage in person because then it puts a name to the face,
Yeah.
and then we're giving them a more personal experience.
Well, I think, and you mentioned this, that you're having a conversation with them,
Yes.
and they're talking about one thing and something else comes up, right?
Yes.
So that's the real value of coming in and making new friends.
Absolutely.
So you talked about the services, so food pantry, navigating the system. What other services are you providing for the veterans?
So we have a food pantry, we have a shower. If you are a homeless veteran or in need of shower, we have one. We have a transportation program. If there's a veteran that needs transportation to and from a medical appointment, we will get them there. We have a driver, we have a van. We ask them to contact us as soon as they know they have an appointment, and we can get them to their medical appointments. We have a recovery coach that attends Veterans Treatment Court. He is actually also very involved in our Housing Wednesday program. It's basically if you're experiencing a housing crisis, you can come into our office, meet with him, and we actually have representatives of the VA there so they can assess their situation, try and connect them to shelter. What else do we have? We collaborate with the Joliet Police Department, their Battle Buddy program, and just had our first Vet Fest last September,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was pretty cool.
Good event.
That was a really good event. I don't remember how many community organizations came, but there was a good amount.
Probably about 20 plus
Yeah.
organizations, but we had an attendance of maybe about 500 people.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So several organizations, and this goes again to the questions they may not know that they need to bring up, right? The topics, they may
Right.
need some assistance, and they're not aware in conversation, I can get help over here. So the Vet Fest, what was the purpose of that? Several different organizations, what type?
So we worked collaboratively with the Joliet Police Department's Battle Buddy program. And what that is a current police officer who is a military veteran. And basically they are connected to a veteran that might be in crisis or down on their luck having some difficult times, and they mentor them. But the reason we got together for this is because we're very involved in being proactive to prevent veteran suicide. So we wanted to get together and do something to create more awareness. And I believe it was Canines for Vets that we were raising funds for, as well as the Joliet Police Battle Buddy program. Is
Oh
that
yeah,
how that went?
absolutely. So we
Yeah.
ended up raising, a good $10,000, and
Oh, that's great.
a lot of it was for vendors, but we ended up, giving the proceeds after all that was, done to the Canines for Vets and the Joliet Battle Buddies, because they were both involved in suicide prevention initiatives, especially with the dogs with canines.
Right.
And the Joliet Battle Buddy program
Right.
that Amy pointed
That's a
out so
great
well.
program. I mean, one, again, we talked about this early in the show, identifying people who may need services, and then staying in contact with them.
Yes.
Right.
So I want to stay on topic a little bit, but I want to veer off just slightly. What is, if you have an example of the most fulfilling experience you've had so far with this service, these services that you're providing, this service that you're providing to our veterans and helping others? Is there any particular example of something that pops up? And if you don't have it, that's fine. But what's been the most fulfilling experience you've had so far?
I'm going to let Arya go first.
I think for me, it's just a daily basis. In general, just seeing just how happy you've made the veteran, even something just, something as minor as giving them food.
Yep.
Having them just be listening ear for them. And because most of them, they don't like to socialize all the time, they're in their little bubbles. And so when they come into our office, they see, oh, I'm among people that like me. And they like to talk about their experiences in that time, in that moment, whoever would have just a little listen. But that to me is more fulfilling because I like hearing the stories. And as long as you'll listen, they'll talk, and I enjoy it.
Well, and this was brought up when I've had veterans on the show before. Having a veteran share their story, their struggles with someone who's not a veteran is not something that's common. In fact, it doesn't happen because you haven't had the common experience. So that, you're right, they're going to be willing to talk to you. You've got something in common, and then you get them going, and it's a good day because they walked out better off than when they walked in.
Correct.
Honestly, I could probably sit here and go through many stories that are super rewarding. But for me, I would probably say getting Charlie's been pretty cool because I work with a lot of surviving spouses. So they come in, they've lost their husband or their wife. And it's not a fun experience for them to have to come to us because a lot of times the veteran has just passed and there's emotions that are involved and that things haven't been processed fully, and there's a lot of overwhelming experiences that you have to go through when you lose a loved one. So she's been instrumental because I take her in on all of my my widow's appointments. If I have a veteran in crisis, I bring her on in. I mean, she's emotional support. Her job is to have people love her. So she knows when I tell her it's time to go to work, and she comes trotting into the office. I close the door. I had someone on the floor with her today, petting her and just giving her hugs and, crying and loving on the dog. And that's pretty awesome because when they leave, then, we made that horrible experience that they had so much anxiety about coming in that much better. Yeah. And half the time now people will come back and they'll, where's Charlie? Can I come visit? Yep, let me go get her. I'll go get her and she can come out and say hi to you. So it's been pretty cool having her. It's made the office atmosphere amazing, and the veterans love her.
Yeah, we're going to have to bug Larry to come in.
Yeah,
as
I
we
can
get
hear her
close.
whining.
in a few minutes, we'll get close to the end of the show because Charlie may take over and want to share lots of stories. So you talked about the surviving spouses because, so the veterans get their own services. Let's talk a little bit more about what they're entitled to. And it doesn't have to go into great detail, but they're coming to you for health care, food pantry, housing, assistance, anything else that we haven't talked about that is available to the veterans that you can help with.
So we work very closely with the Orland Park Vet Center. They provide that. They're actually employed by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and they have combat counselors that come into our office 4 days a week, and they counsel combat veterans on an individual, and they have a group program. So that's pretty amazing because a lot of times Charlie will be available and the guys are coming in to, for their group and they all visit her. So we work very heavily with them, which has also led us to take that initiative and expand mental health services because we are going to be implementing our own mental health program starting, I think, the beginning of March, where we're going to have a mental health coordinator in our office that's not going to necessarily only focus on acute counseling for veterans in crisis, but we want to give a whole body health experience where we would have yoga classes and cooking classes and teach classes in financial literacy, things like that, so we can bring it full circle.
That's great. And that gets to a point that we wanted to cover. Is you've got some upcoming activities. Have we covered what you've been doing for the last several years sufficiently? And can we go into what's coming up in the near term and maybe some longer term goals? What do you think?
Well, I can tell you that outreach is an ongoing thing. So basically, if there's any event locally that the organizer would like us to attend, we're more than happy to do so. We'll bring literature out there. We participate in the Will County Fair, so we'll have a booth there with all the other the county organizations. Like I said, we have service officers there. Commission members will come. We all take turns rotating and work the table. So people have staff right there that they can ask questions. We also are the only, I believe, are we the only VAC with a state of Illinois service officer in our office?
I believe so.
Yeah, so we work with the state as well. So not only can they come in and file for benefits or get information on what they're eligible for within the VA, but we also have a state service officer that can give them information on state-specific benefits as well.
That's a good point, because it's not just the federal government providing the services, the state has services. So someone in my role in another community, Bolingbrook has a festival every August, and they have tents available for vendors, and our village picnic on the last Sunday in June every year is focused on community organizations. It's not people, not vendors trying to sell clothing. It's all about community organizations. So I'm going to ask you to keep that on your calendar, and I'll follow up with you. For
Yeah,
the last
absolutely.
meeting.
Let us know. We'll get you on our
We'd
calendar.
love to.
And we
We'd
get,
love to
a
participate.
couple, 3, 4, 5,000 people. But that's important. So are you, and I'm sure you are, reaching out to local communities and getting this message out, and whoever's planning their events, because it may not necessarily be the village or the town that's doing that. It could be an organization that's doing a festival that wants to have, I'll consider our Promenade shopping mall, outdoor shopping mall, has events on Thursdays over the summer. They have live music, but then they also have tents. So it's a combination, building the network of places that you can be to get the word out and have somebody stop by, because not everybody goes to the picnic, not everybody goes to the festival. So you're going to come in contact with them at different places. So that's a great thing.
We also task our commission members to take our information back to their posts and legions, and then in turn let us know what you have coming up on your calendar, because if there's something that they want us to appear at, we're more than happy to do so.
Yeah, and we actually have a joint calendar on our website, which actually has every event for as many events as possible for every VFW and Legion that we have contact with.
That's
so
a great
there are
idea.
meetings, even the fish fries are on
Yeah.
there. So you can go on the website, click, I think, event calendar, and it's right there.
Who doesn't love a fish fry?
Right?
That's right. It'd be hard to find somebody like that.
Yeah. I know I grew up on fish fries, and it's great all year round. So can't ever go wrong with that. Is there anything else? So future plans. What's coming up? Anything else that's coming up that you're trying to put in place for the upcoming calendar year?
Yeah, you know what? I'll go ahead and mention that. You guys can feel free to add. One of the initiatives that we have going right now is, and this is probably a broader conversation, but we did really well, and I'm actually proud of the staff especially, and I want to give a shout out to you guys on air, because the direction we've come from 21 to 22 to 23, and I have a governor's report right here, which is our annual report, which just got published and sent to the governor. We processed more claims than probably ever before.
Yeah, we're very
what I'm-
busy. We were very busy.
That's
Very
great.
busy, and we had new staff. Aria's new, but there were other veteran service officers that were also new. But given the fact that that was the case, and we had a huge upheaval last year in the commission, and it garnered some media attention. But the point is that we self-corrected in a lot of ways, and it was driven all the way up to the assembly, and it resulted in new legislation to the Military Veterans Assistance Act. So now all eyes are on us to see how we actually implement all of this. And given we appointed a new superintendent, we hired some new staff, we still ended up actually doing a record year last year.
Wow.
And our future plans are, because of that, we're reaching capacity. The building that we have is great, but we're reaching that point we need to move into a bigger building. And in 2020, the Will County government actually purchased a building. We call it the Copperfield Building. It's actually by the Seabach in Joliet. So we'd like to move into that building. So we're actually working collaboratively with the county in order to move into that building at some point, because it's going to offer us a larger landscape, but also put us next to transitional housing and other veteran services. So that's a big initiative that we have going forward in the future, hopefully this year.
That's great, and congratulations on the success. And I know it's going to continue to get better because you've got great people, and there's in the Scout.
And they do the work.
Yeah, that's a great. When I talk about our village staff is amazing, and it makes
Absolutely.
a public servant's life much easier when you know you can call somebody to make things happen and make people happy.
Absolutely. No, I feel exactly what you
Yeah.
mean by that.
And that's the only way it works. One thing that just popped into my head. One thing I was thinking of. So this collaboration with the county is important, and the new facility. And as you're expanding this, how can people in Bolingbrook help? What do you think?
I'll let you guys take that one, and I can add to it if you want.
Besides
Sure.
getting the word out.
Anyone is welcome to attend our commission meetings. They're on a quarterly basis now, and the information is always on our website when the next meeting is going to be. The locations typically change. Different posts will host us.
Oh, good. That's a
So
good point.
it's nice. We get around the community. If you want to volunteer in our office, come on in. Let us know. Share our information. If I give, one person my business card or my email address or my phone number, and they give it to their neighbor, who gives it to their cousin, who gives it to their brother. I mean, word of mouth is amazing, and that's how we're getting the word out too. And then just as much community engagement as possible, as much outreach that we can participate in. Come see us. Usually, if we're participating in an event, we'll put it on our Facebook page or our website so people can see where we're going to be at. And, come out there and meet us, join us, talk to us. And like I said, there's always something someone can do.
So follow you on Facebook.
Follow us on Facebook.
Yeah, and that's why we also appreciate this, because I've been in touch with as many mayors as possible within the county, and I even ran into Mayor Basta on Veterans Day. But
You did a great job on Veterans Day, by the way.
oh, thank you. But the point of all of that is we want to let them know, because they're the representatives that we have in local government, so they can let their constituents know. So if we can be invited to any public meeting, even the village meetings, we'd be happy to send a representative
Yeah.
to speak about the services so more people are aware.
I think the answer right now is yes. We'll make that happen.
Right.
And we do have this show, and we're going to be broadcasting it on our local cable access, and we're working on some things to make it available. I can't give it away yet, but more available video and programs like this. The last key and I don't know if Larry's within earshot, but so the thing I wanted to mention was I know a number of people, and we're blessed in every community with people who are not veterans, who want to serve and help the veterans. And so making them aware of how they can get in contact with you, not only help their local VFW and American Legion, but how they can help. This is another channel or vehicle to, that's a nice problem to have, too many volunteers, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
So I know people who are active today who are helping the veterans, and so I'll make sure we get the word out that way. And it's, a person mentioning your organization to somebody they know, they mention it to somebody else. You guys are too young to know I think it was a TV commercial back in the day, but tell someone and tell someone, and you have to go look it up and find out what that was. But that's the important thing.
And Mike, I would also like to add if they also would like to donate to our food pantry,
Oh, good.
or they would like to purchase coats right now, because that's a big need, especially for veterans male veterans. We need coats and any hygiene items. We also have that in our office as well. If they would like to donate to our facility, that would be much appreciated as
Make a
well.
run through the stores and deliver it to your location. That's great. And that is very important. Next, with the weather coming up the next few days. Well, we're going to finish up the show. Larry's going to come in with Charlie. But I do want to thank you for being here today. And we're going to talk to Larry and Charlie and to finish this up. But I want to thank you for everything that you do. And we will continue to get the word out. Thanks, Larry.
all right.
And you
there's
did a
Charlie.
good job. You did a good job.
Thanks, Larry.
Pardon my cough, but I want to thank you for being here today.
And
I
thank
want
you
to
so
thank
much.
Bolingbrook Community Television for making this broadcast possible. And we're going to enjoy some time with Charlie for a few seconds as we finish up this
Charlie.
show. Anything else thank you for mentioning the food pantry, coats, toiletries.
Yes.
I've traveled to other countries where they've asked us to leave our toiletries behind, and I know hotels do that as well. So thank you all for watching tonight, and get the word out.